Hi guys, so I'm going to take you through another bodyweight workout today. We're going to do another 3 different exercises, but we're going to put them together in a different way this time. We're going to do a little ladder workout. So we're going to start off with 1 rep of each exercise, moving straight away to 2 reps, then to 3, 4 and up to 5. And that's going to be our ladder. Now you can make this harder by going all the way up to 5 and then coming back down to 1, or you can just take your rest when you've gone to 5 and then have a short rest, 1 to 2 minutes, and then start all over again. So first of all, I'm going to start to take you through each of the 3 exercises that we're going to do, and then I'm going to show you a little video of putting it all together just to get a feel of what it looks like. So we're going to do the 3 different exercises. They're going to be the bodyweight squat, which I'll show you an easier version of doing as well using the chair. We're going to do a push-up. Again, I'll show you an easier version and a harder version using the chair. And then the 3rd exercise, we're going to do a tricep dip, and then I'm also going to show you a more difficult version of the exercises, that exercise again using the chair. So this whole entire workout you can use with the chair, you could do it without the chair, or some of the exercises with or without. Choice is yours really. So first of all, we're going to go through the squat. We're going to look at it body weight first. I'm going to take you through a few little tips of what to look out for as well, and then I'm going to show you the easier variation using the chair. So initially we're going to set up the feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Ideally we're going to have the toes facing forwards, but if you feel a little bit tight in the hips, you can open those toes out slightly to 10 to 2 on the clock. We're going to look at sitting the hips backwards as we go down. So the knees stay backwards of the toes, and we're going to try and push them out slightly over the toes so they don't drop inwards on the way down. So thinking about pushing those hips backwards as we keep the chest facing forwards. You can have your hands out for balance if you want, and then pushing down into the floor with your feet, squeezing the glutes on the way up to get the most out of this exercise. So the easiest way to tell whether your balance isn't great with this exercise is to look at your toes, as whether you're getting the squat right or not. Now as you sit back, this is the best way to tell that you're either sitting back too far or not far enough. So if I sit backwards and my toes start to come off the floor, then that is a surefire way of me knowing that my balance isn't correct during the squat. So if I were to face this way, sit too far back, my toes are going to come off the floor to help me try and balance, and then stand back up again. So what I'm looking for is to spread those toes out into the ground, sitting those hips back, and really thinking about pushing through the pads of the feet to keep those toes down and driving them up to standing. Now, if you think about your squat and the way that you're going to use your glutes, like a clothes peg. So as you go down and you pinch the peg together and the peg opens up, you're going to think of that as your glutes. So as you sit back and squeeze your glutes, as you're squeezing that peg, then your knees are going to open up, and you squeeze those glutes and drive those feet into the floor, keeping those knees nice and forced apart. And that's where the peg idea comes in. So when you go down, you're going to take a deep breath in, squeezing those glutes on the way up, keeping those knees apart, chest nice and forwards. So that's the squat. If we're going to make it slightly easier to use the chair, same thing. You're just going to sit down on the chair when you go. One thing I'm looking for you to do though is not to sit down and collapse into this, and also not to bend forward too much at the hip, and bringing that body forwards to make it a little easier. So we're about 6-8 inches away from the chair, keeping that chest nice and forwards, sitting all the way back. You can use your hands for balance. Same thing though, you're going to drive your feet into the floor, squeezing those glutes all the way up to stand up. So exercise number 2, we're going to look at the push-up, and then we're going to look at an easier version and a harder version. So the easier version using the chair, would be to have the hands resting on the chair, and that's the one that I'm going to go through first. So we're going to have a look at keeping, one of the main things we're going to look at is keeping the thumbs in line with your armpits so that the shoulders are directly over the hands. This puts the least amount of pressure on the shoulder and enables you to use your chest to its maximum potential. So we're going to hold the core nice and tight, so squeezing that belly button in towards the spine and trying to get that body nice and flat on the way so that the shoulders are directly above the hands. If you have a chair like mine, you might have to go slightly further back so you don't hit your face on the way going down. So I'm going to take a deep breath in on the way down, keeping those elbows nice and close to that body, and breathing out and pushing the chair away, squeezing that chest on the way up. So I want to keep the elbows nice and close, not out to the side, twisting those wrists. Breathing in on the way down, breathing out on the way up, really squeezing that chest, pushing the chair down into the floor. So having a look at that again, taking a deep breath in, breathing out, deep breath in, and breathing out. If you want to take the slightly harder version of this exercise, we're going to do it the opposite way around. So you're going to have your feet on the chair and your hands on the floor. Now this is a little bit more difficult in terms of shoulder stability, and it requires a little bit more strength and a little bit more attention to the core to keep the body nice and tight. So all together we're still doing the same setup though. Hands directly underneath those shoulders so the thumbs are in line with the armpits, keeping that body nice and straight. Really pulling that belly button in, taking that deep breath in, elbows nice and close, breathing out, pushing the floor away. So breathing in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out. So whichever one that you decide to do, make sure that you take your time, breathe properly, and really focus on pushing those hands either into the floor or into the chair. So last exercise, I'm going to look at the dip. I'm going to show you the easier version, I'm going to show you the harder version. Easier version, and face away from the chair with your fingers facing forwards. They're going to be slightly behind you. Walking those feet out until you feel comfortable, feet flat on the floor. We're going to try and keep the hips pointing down towards the floor as we go down here. So we're not trying to push them forwards. So elbows are going to stay nice and close in towards the body, facing backwards. So on the way down, we take the breath in, letting those hips relax straight down to the floor, and then breathing out and pushing those hands down into the chair, trying to keep those elbows nice and close together. So breathing in and breathing out. You can use your feet a little bit to push down here and help you out, but we're going to look at mostly doing this with the hands, trying not to let those hips stray forwards on the way up. So all the way down towards the floor with those hips and pushing down. Slightly harder version still involves using the chair, but this time we're going to face the chair, and it's a little bit more of a bodyweight version of what we call a skull crusher in the gym, using a bar or dumbbells. So you're going to have your hands facing forwards this time, keeping your arms straight. You're going to walk your feet a little bit away from the chair, so we're at an angle now. We're not too bothered about keeping a flat back or a whole straight body here, just comfortable with that balance. You can change how big the angle is at your hips to make the exercise easier or harder. So on the way down, we're going to look at keeping the elbows pointing down towards the floor. As we take that breath in, we're going to bring that face down towards the chair. Breathe out and straighten those arms again. So breathing in and breathing out. You can use the toes here to make it a little bit harder, get a little bit more of that body weight down into the triceps. But again, Like I mentioned, we're going to try and keep the elbows pointing down towards the floor, nice and close towards the body, not out to the side. Especially with this exercise, if we put them out to the side, we're going to put a little bit more pressure on the elbow and the shoulders than we need to. So, now that I've gone through the 3 exercises, we're going to put it all together and show you how it works. So with this ladder, we're going to start with the bigger muscle groups first. So we're going to start with the squat, then into the push-up, and then we're going to use the tricep exercise for last. So what I'm going to show you is you're going to start with 1 rep of each exercise, taking as little rest as is comfortable between each of them. Then, without taking much of a rest, you're going to move straight into doing 2 of each exercise. Again, keeping the rest to a minimum. We're going to move to 3, and I'm going to stop you there just because then the video will last a long time if I take you all the way up to 5 and back down. And then I'm going to come back down to 2, and then I'm going to come back down to 1. So, I'm going to show you an up and down ladder. With the ladder, you can take it up, have your break, 1 to 2 minutes, and then come back down and break again. Or you can go all the way up and then come straight back down and then take your rest. And depends how hard you want to make your workout. It can be a long one, it can be a short one. I would say to make this a little bit more difficult, taking it up to 5 reps would be a good maximum number, especially if you're then going to come back down again. So once you've done either your half ladder or the full up and down, take your break, make sure you have a little bit of rest and some water, get yourself ready for another round. Again, making it easier, making it harder, I would do this anywhere between 3 and 5 times once you've had your break. Okay, so I'm going to show you the up and down ladder from 1 rep to 2 to 3 and back down to 1. Okay, so here we go. So starting with that squat, making sure that the hips can go backwards, feet down into the ground. Into the push-up. Into the tricep. We'll go back into the squat now for 2. There's 1. Into the push-up for 2 now. And then into the tricep. So go back to the start for 3. Really making sure we're using those glutes, pushing those feet down into the floor, chest nice and high, into the push-up. Last exercise. So this is where we go back to the squat, going down to 2. Into that push-up. Tricep. All the way back down to the first one. 1. 1. 1. So, there you go. A nice simple ladder workout to take you all the way up and back down again. This is where you take your break, 1 to 2 minutes, ready to go again. Hope you enjoy your workout.